Mayor Pro Tem Bond will not be here tonight. He is dealing with some out-of-town family medical issues, and we certainly extend our thoughts and prayers to Mayor Pro Tem Bond in that regard. So since we do have a quorum, and since the general public has been patient waiting for us to open the meeting, at this time I would open the April 22nd meeting of the Edenton Town Council. The first order of business is a public hearing, and I'll open the public hearing, and that is to consider a rezoning application which is identified as case number RZ 24-01. This is a rezoning application from Sam and Nancy Rogers, and it's their request to rezone property located at 102 Virginia Road from CH Commercial to R10 Residential. And to help us go through that process tonight, we've just first hear from Dwayne Wilton, and on behalf of staff, he's going to give a staff report on this application. Dwayne?
Yes, sir. As you stated, this is from Mr. Sam and Nancy Rogers. They met with me. We're looking at purchasing the property at 102 Virginia Road. That's property that has been commercial highway. They, in order, I guess, to comply with the single-family residence that currently is on the property, they are looking to rezone it to R10, which matches the existing residential area around it, to include more circle on Virginia Road. In the staff report, you see the existing zoning and land use classifications for commercial highway as well as residential. Future land use map classification plans, goals, and objectives. This is medium-high density residential classification, occupies about 20% of the town's planning jurisdiction, and delineates lands where the predominant land use is higher density single-family residential and multifamily development. I could not find any zoning history on this property. It appears at some point it was changed because the intended use of the existing building was for single-family use. The request is to rezone the parcels. May be considered appropriate given the compatibility of surrounding residential properties and the intended purpose of the parcel. The proposed rezoning classification R10 residential does not alter the predominant existing land use pattern in the surrounding area. The future land use map contained the 2018 Edenton land use plan depicts generalized patterns of anticipated future use. This general area looks to be residential according to the map in the land use plan. Central rezoning of this parcel R10 is consistent with future land use designation and with the neighboring properties of being medium-high density residential. You see the current zoning map, where the parcel is located, and the maps provided. Staff has determined the application of Sam and Nancy Rogers from the zoning for a zoning map amendment is complete. It's compatible with the 2018 land use plan. It would result in no inconsistencies with existing future land use. The town Edenton Planning Board reviewed the application at the first meeting and unanimously recommended approval. And then section 20.5 of the town council statement with plan consistency and the four, I guess, actions that need to be taken for these.
Thank you, Dwayne. And according to our order of business in regard to this hearing, we're going to hear from the applicant if they have anything to say, and then we'll open the floor to public comment. And then after the public comment, we'll have the opportunity to ask either the applicant or our own staff questions. So, Dwayne, we may call you back up if you have a few questions. That being said, Sam and Nancy Rogers present, and do you have any comments or any requests that you'd like to make, or anything that you feel like we need to know?
Nope.
Okay, thank you. At this time, we'll open the public hearing portion of this public hearing. Just like we normally do, please limit your comments to 3 minutes. Do we have anyone that wants to speak tonight from the general public regarding the rezoning application, case number RZ 24-01? Okay, there appearing to be no public comments. I'll close the public comment section of this public hearing. At this point in time, it would be appropriate for town council to ask any questions either of the applicant or our staff. Does anybody have any questions?
I got one, Dwayne, well, first, thank you for doing this, it's a great house, I mean, I've been worried about it, I tried to protect it, when CVS put in their thing, we couldn't find a way to protect that house from CVS, but anyway, I'm sorry you have to look at CVS. It was not built according to the standards that they promised, but anyway, we're gonna work on that with new zoning ordinances. But, I just think it's a great thing for that, but it's a down zone, it's not an up zone. So, I mean, it's going back to what it should have never changed from being. So, it's one of, I think, one of the most important houses in town. It's bigger than any house, it's sort of the biggest one of those type of houses. And, it's so nice to see y'all working on it, and, I just applaud you for, for saving a house that's very important to the town of Eden. No questions.
Mayor, just want to follow up on what Councilman Dixon just said. I think more people say to me, have you seen the house over there on Virginia Road, how they really cleaned up the yard? And you can actually see the house now. It really looks beautiful. It just makes our town look that much better. And thank you.
It's gonna take a while,
Yeah.
but it'll get there eventually.
And Dwayne, just a few questions in your experience as assistant town manager and dealing with land use affairs. Do you believe this proposed change would adversely affect public health or safety?
No, sir. I've spoken to one or two property owners, and they're in favor of it. They think it protects the corner, and really kind of, because anything else would have impacted traffic in that area, so they were in favor of it. And I think for health and safety, if any other issue with traffic, then that's a plus for me, so.
And you had previously stated that this rezoning would be in conformity with our land use plan?
Yes, that particular general area, and given that it was a single-family residence in its own right, and has been that way for 75 years, I think this was the appropriate measure to be taken.
And to the left of it, as you're looking at the house and behind its primary residential, is that correct?
That's correct, yeah, all down Bowden Road and more Circle and Virginia Road.
And do you believe it'll be in harmony with the area around it?
I believe so, yes.
And do you believe it will not injure the property value of adjoining landowners?
No, sir, it keeps going the way it's going, it would help property values in the general area.
All right. Anybody else have any questions? Mr. Costin, do you have any questions?
I think we're good, thank you.
Okay. All right. Well, the way we have to vote on these types of items is a four-part test involving 4 questions. Council will see those listed on the agenda, and we'll need a separate motion, second, and vote on each of those 4 subsections that are shown as A through D. So at this time, beginning with A, the mayor will entertain a motion and a second on the public health and safety concern.
So,
I make that motion.
second.
Any discussion on whether or not it would endanger the public health or safety? There being none, all who agree that this proposed rezoning will not endanger the public safety or health, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we carry on that question. The next question, I will entertain a motion regarding the value of adjoining and abutting property.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion and a second, any discussion? Okay, all those agree with the statement that this proposed rezoning will not injure the value of adjoining property or abutting property, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Next, entertain a motion as to whether or not the proposed rezoning will be in harmony with the area in which it is located.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion on that? All those in favor of the statement that this proposed rezoning will be in harmony with the area in which it is located, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? That carries. And lastly, I'll entertain a motion on the conformity issue with the land use plan.
So moved.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second. Any discussion? There being none, all who believe that this proposed rezoning will be in conformity with our land use plan, thoroughfare plan, or any other official plan adopted by the town, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the rezoning is passed, and again, thank you. It does look great, and a lot of conversation around town following the progress, but we really appreciate your investment in Edenton.
Thank you.
At this time, I'd like to close the public hearing. We move to the special meeting portion of our agenda. Our first agenda item under the special meeting is a special presentation by Edenton Chowan Arts Council. We've got their executive director, Meredith Timberlake, here to tell us about the last year's accomplishments and what they have planned for the coming year. Meredith, if you'll come forward. Thank you.
Yeah, so, I'm coming up on 2 years of being the executive director for the Arts Council, and, have really made some leaps and bounds. We've been able to maintain our monthly events that are still free and open to the public with featured artists and live music, food and beverage, and we've had record attendances that are anywhere from 100 to 150 people per event. I have been able to increase community partnerships, visibility, programming, diversification by really telling our story and why we're here and why we do what we do. And that includes involving ourselves with local businesses, the Boys and Girls Club, retirement facilities, which was a brand new thing for us. I brought in a group called Communities in Motion, and they went into primetime retirement back in February, and the Boys and Girls Club, and they were all about movement and the art of dance and how that can help. Even if folks were in a wheelchair, they still got them moving, which was fantastic, and I was there and got to see it. It was amazing. Another performance artist, Bree Fitz, some of you have seen. She is a fire dancer and a hula hoop dancer, also an OR nurse. So I took her into DF Walker, and she was able to talk to 150 fourth graders and do programming on the body and anatomy, and then of course perform, and they were enamored. I have another poetry artist who I've had last year coming in again next month, and this is one of the most exciting things. A new partnership for me is partnering with the culinary program at College of the Albemarle. Leslie Lippincott and I are working together. She's brought her students into the gallery to pick out a piece of art, and they're going to develop a recipe around that, and it's called A Taste of the Arts, which I think is amazing, and they're going to hold the event at COA. And all of this has increased our volunteer support, which is great. Increased participation in community events, again, creating awareness. Sounds of Summer, we're involved in Surf, Wind, and Fire, and I'm sure everybody has seen the mural. We had our first large fundraiser in 4 years, and it was a success, complete and total. Enhancing board engagement. Also engaged with other local nonprofits and executive directors, working closely with them to make sure that we're all on the same page and working together. And then highly involved in the 250th Tea Party celebration. So, yeah, I'm just moving forward, forging, and creating awareness of the arts and making sure people know that it's so important, and, reaching out to schools, and, because it is important, because we're more than just that building, right? Like, we do so much more, so, and we'll do so much more.
Does anybody have any questions of Meredith, or any comments?
Just thank you for what you do and your board does, and what you offer to this community. Thank you.
And I appreciate the efforts that you are taking to reach out to some groups and organizations and communities that we've not seen served by the Arts Council.
Yep, thank you.
So that's, we certainly recognize that.
Yep.
So, thank you very much. Appreciate it. The next agenda item is a contractor award summary, and after we receive this summary, we will need to take some action on this. But as the council will remember, the last couple of meetings, we have talked about the fact that we did receive 4 awards for the community development block program. We've got 4 houses, one on MLK, one on North Broad, one on Bond Street, and one on Cabarrus Street, that were picked to be renovated. We've got, I think Insight is available by Zoom, and we need to hear from them first. Okay. Do we have someone from Insight?
Representative Chris Hilbert.
Chris, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, great. Yeah, if you could just talk to us about the 4 awards that we need to vote on tonight here in Edenton with the CDBG grant.
Okay. Yeah, you might remember a couple months ago, we approved a asbestos inspector and a lead inspector, and we had those inspections completed and incorporated those into the work write-ups for these 4 homes. We undertook a contractors meeting and a bid opening schedule where we opened bids last Thursday. We got 4 contractors bidding on houses. We're recommending awards in 3 cases to the low bidder. In 1 case to the second low bidder. The reason for that second low bidder is that the contractor that was the low bidder, he's got 1 award already that we're recommending, but also he's got some other work that we're aware of with, in another community that we want to make sure we're expediting this construction. And the second low bidder is a qualified contractor that has done work with us in the past as well. So all 3 of those contractors that we're recommending awards tonight have worked with us in the past. They're very experienced contractors. They understand our forms and our payment schedules and things like that. I will mention a couple things about the prices. There are 2 homes that are reconstructions. That's unit number 1 and unit number 3. The reconstruction prices include the demolition and any asbestos removal with those demolitions. So, actually nowadays when you look at 186 and 190, that doesn't seem like too bad when you're building a new house on site. And then the other 2 are rehabilitations, but we're categorizing those as substantial rehabilitations. Both of those units are very large units. Comparing some CDBG homes, sometimes we're working on units that are less than 1,000 square feet. Both of those units are over 2,200 square feet. So there's a lot of house there to work with. And then they both had lead in their houses. The one on Cabarrus had a good amount of lead. So that's kind of increasing those prices. But those are both comprehensive rehabs. We do have to, after the award, we do have to get approval from the state for those substantial rehabilitations. We'll put those letters together, and we would expect those to be approved.
Okay, does anyone have any questions of Chris? Okay, Chris, thank you for your work on this, and we look forward to seeing the improvement and reconstruction of these properties. We appreciate your work on this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. At this time, this does require approval of the council. Assistant Town Manager Dwayne Wilton and Town Manager Corey Gooden recommend that we approve the contractor awards as presented, and I will entertain a motion and second in that regard.
So moved. Second.
And we are able to vote on all of them at one time. Do we have any comments or discussion regarding those?
Any idea when, work will begin?
We will move forward immediately with scheduling the attorney. The attorney has to put liens on the properties for the amount that we're spending. So we'll move forward with the attorney this week with notifying him on the reconstructions. And then we'll also put together the substantial rehab. I would hope that we get all the contracts signed and paperwork signed so that we can start before the end of May on some of the units.
Thank you.
And they're all owner occupied, is that correct?
Yes.
And Chris, all of these awards and all these projects are totally grant funded, is that correct?
Yeah, this is 100% funded by the CDBG program.
Can you remind me the addresses?
The addresses are 504 MLK, 511 North Broad, 811 Bond Street, and 706 Cabarrus.
Okay.
Okay, any further discussion? We got a motion and second. All in favor of us approving these contractor awards as presented, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, those awards are officially approved. The next order of business is a resolution related to project WIF-1944. That project is an ongoing project that has been going on since, I believe, September of 2018. Is related to a water supply rehab project and ground storage tank project that we had. Because of the length of the contract, and all aware certainly that what happened in 2020 and 2021 to the supply chain and cost of almost any project that involved materials, I believe we've come back and approved at least 2 or 3 changes to this. This is a final change that would increase the budget of that project to by the amount of $145,026. That project is loan funded, and if this resolution is passed, and if the following budget resolution is passed, the loan will be closed out at a total amount of $1,999. Anything else you need to add on that? Or,
And just to let you know, there were 2 previous amendments. Like Mayor High had indicated that costs around supplies have really curbed things. And if you also remember, we had 2 of the well sites that were part of the rehabilitation that had some pretty significant damage after the rehab, that had to have some pretty extensive modifications made after the fact to get those back in service. And that includes some of the pricing that we're seeing here. This will be a funding package from the Division of Water Infrastructure for a new loan, which is at 1.13% for the next 20 years. And that's part of the budget amendment next time. Mayor.
so we need to first pass a resolution authorizing this funding increase. Do we have a motion and a second for that particular funding increase?
So moved. Second.
Any discussion or questions at this time? There being none, all in favor of the resolution to increase this funding by the amount presented, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that resolution passes. We next move to the related budget amendment, and again, this is project WIF-1944. As Corey indicated, this budget amendment will allow the town to close out this project with a new loan, and we've got that at an interest rate of 1.13% for a term of 20 years. Do I have a motion to pass the budget amendment as presented?
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion on that item? There being none, all in favor of this particular budget amendment as presented, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that amendment does in fact pass. Next, moving to an agenda item related to the airfield lighting vault. This is a project out at the airport that is identified as project number 2402-2401. And this will allow the town to accept the amount of $73,920 from the North Carolina Division of Aviation NPE funds to install the airfield lighting vault. Our aviation consultant has worked with us on this and recommends that we approve it, and also Town Manager Corey Gooden recommends that we approve it. Do you have anything else you'd like to add to that, Corey?
So the only thing to share here, if you remember, we've done some recent work authorizations around the runway lighting for the runway as well as the taxiway. This part of the airfield lighting vault is a result of that. When we upgrade those lights for the runway and taxiways, we're also going to need to retrofit the electric station that feeds those lights. And this will run parallel to that, and I did speak with the airport director this afternoon, and it looks like on May 16th, we will hopefully have a bid opening for this and the runway lighting project, which this will be an addendum to that, that work.
What does the vault look like? Just trying to imagine a vault, the lighting vault itself.
So this is a structure that's almost ground level, just slightly above grade, to keep any wood or anything like that out. And what this is it's kind of a distribution hub to connect your power source to each individual unit that runs the entire 6,000 linear feet down the runways and taxiways. And so this is much like a panel box for a house. It's kind of just your distribution network type.
It's right there on the ground.
It's near it's actually near the operations area there at the terminal building.
And this too is 100% grant funded.
Yes, that's correct.
Any other comments or questions? Okay, this time I would seek a motion to approve the work authorization as presented.
So moved.
Do you have a second?
Second.
Well, we've got a motion and second, and I don't think we had any further discussion. All those in favor of approving this work authorization, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Next, we've got the related budget amendment again to project number 2402-2401, and we are just requesting that we have a budget amendment to reflect the $73,920 in work that we just authorized in the previous agenda item. Do I have a motion on that? Second?
Second.
Any discussion or questions of staff on that particular item? Okay, there being none, all in favor of the budget amendment as presented for project number 2402-2401, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That budget amendment carries. Next, we've got a resolution as it relates to the America 250 celebration and also the Edenton Tea Party 250th anniversary celebration. Both of these celebrations are coming up later this year and into carrying forward into 2025 and 2026. This formal resolution is required to start the process of our partnership with the North Carolina Department of Natural and Cultural Resources. For both celebrations, it's going to involve a number of our agencies, including our Public Information Officer, DDE, Executive Director, our Chamber Director, the TDA Executive Director, the Historical Commission's Director of History and Communications, and the librarian, head librarian, and our Arts Council Director, and many other local and state representatives and groups. This will allow us to access grant funding that can help with the event of both celebrations. Anything else, Corey, that we need to know about that?
No, I just want to thank some of our local partners and Councilman Dixon for helping us with some of the information to put this together. I do think that both are very much needed, and the funding that's available here will help us with move forward with a lot of planning and events coordination over the next 2 years. for these celebrations.
Yeah, I might add, I think the state's really excited to work with us. Halifax is way out in front of this, so, they came to us next and we met with them. I think they're really excited to,
Do we have somebody who's going to chair this thing,
I think we're working on that.
working on that? Okay, right now you're just getting the different disciplines together.
I think there will be action team with our local executive directors that will partner with one of the staff members from the Department of Natural and Cultural Resources. I think there'll be some local participation as well as state participation because they will be the funding source. But as far as one person in charge of this, we knew this would be a group effort, and that's why we had pulled together most of our nonprofit leaders that really coordinate these type of events.
And when I discussed this matter with Corey earlier today, I think you described it as the first step to gathering some momentum
Yeah.
to move forward for both of these celebrations. Okay, anything else? I'll entertain a motion that we pass a resolution and send this resolution to the North Carolina Department of Natural and Cultural Resources.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. Any further discussion or questions? There being none, all in favor of the council passing the resolution related to the America 250 celebration and the Edenton Tea Party 250th anniversary celebration, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, and that resolution passes also. Next, we'll move to our committee meetings. The first committee report is from Councilwoman Dixon and the Finance Committee.
So we have the travel request for the National Main Street Conference. Corey, I know that the three of us are going, you and Hack and me, and is that the extent of who we're paying for?
Yes.
And DDE pays for the other
Yes.
people. But I think we're gonna have a nice showing. We went last year, we learned a lot. It's a really great organization, and I think it's really worth doing. So we need to say how much it is per person.
I mean, I have that information here.
Yeah, so, let's see, everything's gone up, but it's a total cost of $5,935.23.
That's for all three.
Yeah, that's all three. And I'll just we'll send that actually to full council next time, if that's okay with everybody. That's it for the Finance Committee.
Okay, our next report comes from the Public Works Committee, and that's chaired by Councilman Costin. I think he's got two items that he needs to discuss with us, so I'll hand it over to you, Aaron.
Thank you, Mayor. The first item is for Wharf Landing out by the bridge. It's the request for some signage. It seems that there's been an increase in some potential collisions that's been going on. So the residents in the neighborhood have requested just for some additional signage. So a collaboration between DOT as well as our Public Works Department. We're going to work with them to increase, to add some signage for the traffic. Corey has a few diagrams that he's going to show us up here on the screen.
And while he's doing that, for those of you that don't know, because it's not readily apparent, but Wharf Landing condominiums are actually part of the town of Edenton as a result of an annexation that took place a number of years ago. So as you're coming over the Chowan River Bridge, a lot of that property where the condominiums are is in fact in the town of Edenton town limits.
Thank you, Mayor. I thought that it would be nice to include a visual aid here. There is some confusion when you approach certain right-of-ways and their boundaries. And on the note, for the town's jurisdiction, this was part of a project that was a satellite annexation some number of years ago. And so when you actually exit the interior of the current Wharf Landing property, that is a town neighborhood. And just before you enter the underpass along NC Highway 17, you cross that boundary for the town's actual maintenance and riparian rights, and you kind of enter into NCDOT. So the request from the residents was to add a one-way sign and arrow to the rightmost lane as you're leaving, as well as a do not enter to the left-hand lane as you're exiting the property. We are asking that the committee consider sending those recommendations to full council. And it really kind of gets fuzzy here, particularly with the NC-17 right-of-way being mainly due to the NC-17 Chowan River Bridge and its boundary. However, even though the roadway is above, where we're crossing, we actually enter into NCDOTs. And Tim, if you'll scroll down one more, we're also going to request that NCDOT work with us as well to apply the same correct signage as you actually enter the Wharf Landing property. The NCDOT right-of-way includes the bridge and the parallel service road that runs along 17 and actually ties to West Queen. And so if full council approves this, what we would do is the town would be responsible for adding the additional signage leaving Wharf Landing, and we would work with DOT to schedule this at the same time. They would install the same type signage actually entering the Wharf Landing neighborhood. And
So for us, it would be one do not enter sign and one one-way sign?
yes, that's
And the
correct.
same thing for the state?
Yes, that's correct.
So I got a couple emails, I forwarded them on to Corey, and I talked to, a couple out there, the other night at the awards banquet, and, so I wanted to go out there and sit and just see myself. Everyone goes the wrong way. I mean, it's a problem. In 15 minutes, 3 vehicles just the wrong way. So they definitely have a situation there. I really didn't know it was, you know, unless you really look into it or know. I mean, there could be some situations that occur out there. People walking and big truck come down through there, so.
And so you're exactly right, Councilman Turner. So the town right of way is technically Wharf Landing Drive, and the state's right of way is Wharf Landing Road.
Yeah.
And so we're asking that the Public Works Committee recommend to full council that the do not enter and the one-way arrows be added to the Wharf Landing Drive exiting the property. And we will work with NCDOT to add the same on Wharf Landing Road as you enter the Wharf Landing property.
Appreciate the residents letting you know and you forwarding that to us so we can address it. And Bob, thanks for looking into it. Okay, Councilman Constant, agenda item 2 for you.
Yes, so the last one would be the Colonial Park Marina Pump Out Station fee reduction. So the Harbortown Committee, the Harbor Advisory Committee had brought forth an idea to actually reduce the fee. Last year, the Public Works Department brought its argument to actually increase the fee, but we found that it was not in line with the surrounding area. So after doing another study, we discovered that we want to keep it in line with surrounding areas. So we're looking to reduce the fee from $25 down to $5 to keep it in conformity with surrounding areas. So it is recommended by the Public Works Committee that we send that on to full council as well for consideration.
Are there some areas not charging anything?
Some areas don't charge anything, that is correct. Some areas charge around $5. Some areas don't have optical pump
Would it be
stations.
more welcoming to voters if we charge nothing?
I think, being that we are performing an additional fee, additional service, keeping it at $5 charging something, I don't think we're strong with charging at least $5.
So it used to be,
It used to be $5,
and then it went to
and then
25.
we increased it to $25.
And I think what happened is we may have taken a look at some
Other
more
areas.
resort areas.
Correct.
And
That's what-
as Harbortown came to us, and also we got a citizen here, Hal Murray, assisted us in letting us know that a lot of the harbor towns and our more closer peers had it at around $5 as opposed to 25. And Councilman Constant, I don't, we certainly didn't pass anything in writing, but we have always indicated that we don't like taking away a revenue source until we get to the new, and I don't think we make a lot of money off of it anyway.
Correct.
But normally, just think about that when we vote on it next session, that we're probably talking about July 1.
That's correct. That was gonna be my recommendation.
Yeah.
July 1 is when that,
How many people are we talking about?
We're not talking about a lot right now,
No?
but it kind of begs the question, you never know what matters, but if our competitors are having it at $5, we want to make our harbor just as attractive as theirs, and so that's the thought process.
But some of our competitors are not charging us anything, right?
That's correct. So just to provide a little bit more context on that, so, one of the things we were tasked with the Harbor Advisory Committee as well as the folks from Harbor Towns is to do kind of an administrative dive into these. And when we looked last year during the budget period, we had upfitted to a newer pump out station, of which we were able to get grant funding to reimburse us the cost of that. And I think the real error at that time came in the fact that we really looked at a lot of the Outer Banks marinas versus some of the Inner Banks marinas. If you look at the 7 that we have along the Albemarle Sound, 4 of which provide, including Edenton, the ability to have pump outs for marine vessels, 3 of which do not. Of the 4 that provide, 2 were free and 2 were like $5 if Edenton made this change. So I think the real error there did kind of come with the fact that we looked at those Outer Banks marinas versus the Inner Banks marinas. We do want to thank the input from the residents also that keep us in check on this, and I do think that this would be something that we can align in the budget and have more discussion with the Finance Committee when we go through the initial review. Year in, year out, maybe 2 to 4 voters a year, use the service. So I mean, something that just is really not utilized. And when we think about the administrative review that we were tasked with Harbor Towns and the Harbor Advisory Group was to what do we need to do to work towards any additional planning efforts to increase the number of visitors by land and sea. And this is just one small thing that could be considered to see an uptick in that and the number of visitors.
Okay, everybody have all their questions in and comments? Thank you, Councilman Costin and Corey, for giving us this update, and Hal, thank you for your input on that also. At this time, council is going to consider going into closed session. The purpose of the closed session is pursuant to North Carolina General Statute 143-318-11A5 for the purposes of this body instructing staff concerning negotiating positions to be taken on behalf of the town of Edenton in negotiating the price and other material terms of a proposed contract for the acquisition of real property by purchase, auction, exchange, or lease. At this time, I'd entertain a motion and a second to go into closed session for those purposes. Thank you. All right, we've got a motion and a second. All in favor? Any opposed? None opposed. So we'll now go into closed session, and we'll ask the general public to take an exit at this time. And thank you as always for everyone being here.
Thank you.